What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. So in this video, I want to talk about a comment that the actor and singer Tyrese Gibson made recently. And you may or may not know, but he's going through a divorce at the moment. His wife filed for divorce. I believe they've been married for about 4 years. But she decided to call it quits and file for divorce. I'm not sure of the reason exactly, but Tyrese, he posted a comment via Facebook. And in the comment, he began by saying, "Black families and marriages are under attack." And when I heard that, I was a bit taken aback, but then when I thought about it, well, I'm not really surprised, right? And where I'm getting at is that phrase, what Tyrese said, yeah, I do think there's some truth in that, but I'm like, well, I feel like Tyrese is saying that his black family and his black marriage is under attack. And that's not true, simply for the fact that you don't have a black family and a black marriage. You have a blended family and a blended marriage. And Tyrese kind of went through something like this when he first married his soon-to-be ex-wife, when he referred to her as quote-unquote a black queen, even though she does not identify as black. One, phenotypically speaking, she doesn't have a black look per se, a bit more on the racially ambiguous side. So it's like, well, maybe she could be part, and perhaps she is. And, by the way, I did make a video in defense of them when that happened a couple of years back. And you may be able to even find it on YouTube. But I was operating under the assumption that she at least identified as black. But since she does not identify as black, well, case closed. You can't have a black family and not have a black husband and wife, right? And black kids, right? I mean, at this point, it seems like some of these dudes are just operating out of, well, as long as the husband is black, then it's a black family, right? You know how that goes, right? Yeah. And I do notice this with black people who tend to date interracially. Um, Both the men and the women, but especially the men, though, where it's like they want to, somehow, some way, bring their spouse into blackness, or say that they have a black family, that they're pro-black. For some reason, I just feel like folks, they want to kind of have one foot in and one foot out when it comes to this black thing, right? They want to have the quote unquote the perks of having a non-black spouse, but they don't want to have the downside of having a non-black spouse. So then it's kind of like this whole fence riding thing a little bit, where folks oh, the spouse is non-black, but oh, it's a black family. Oh, it's a black marriage because a black person's involved. Well, in that case, well, what would we call a marriage that contains two black people, a black man and a black woman? What would we call that then? Would that be like a super black marriage? An uber black marriage? an uber black family? Like, because I don't think these situations, like, it's not interchangeable. Like, they're not equivalents, I should say. Like, a black person married to a non-black person and having a blended family is not equivalent to two black people coming together, getting married, and having and procreating and continuing blackness via their children. They're not; those things are not equivalent. Those are two different situations. Um, but I want to read the rest of this comment. Um, I'll be fair and I'll be balanced here. I sure will. And I'll read this comment right here. So Tyrese Gibson. So Tyrese posted, "Black families and marriages are under attack. I've wrestled with this question. How can we be naturally, all right, how can we naturally know how to be something we were never raised by? Most of us were raised in broken homes with no examples of what being a husband, wife, or father is. Dot, 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 dot." Interesting. I repeat, how can we naturally know how to be something we were never raised by? Is he hinting at something? Is perhaps maybe his wife is saying that maybe he's not being a good father to their kids or a good husband, and he's maybe hint, nudge, nudging, saying like, well, I never had that example, you know. And sometimes that is just the cards that you were dealt. However, you can learn. Like, you can, you have resources available to you, Tyrese. Like, you ain't just the regular dude walking down the street. Like, you got resources. And even if you were the regular dude walking down the street, you still have at least some common sense. So yeah, you may not have had a father in the household, you may not have seen your mother in a marriage, but nevertheless, you can at least try to be the father that you wish that you had. And when it comes to the marriage part, well, perhaps you can speak with older black men who are married, and perhaps older black men who are fathers, and see, just get what they have, just speak with them and see what they have to say about things, ask them for advice, etc. So he goes on to say, "My heart is so full because you blessed me with 5 years of magic. Samantha Gibson, I owe you everything." So it seems like he is not taking this divorce the best. Well, I guess he is. I want to say that he's not taking it the best, but it seems like he's actually taking it pretty well, actually, I should say. And he says that 5 years of magic with Samantha Gibson, and he owes her everything. I'm not quite sure what she actually did to be owed everything, but far be it from me to tell someone that they should or should not owe someone any or everything. Okay. "I am a better man of God, friend, and a father because of you. I pray we leave the door open because the God that we serve is a mountains mover and can make a way out of no way. My booby buddy, our booby bubba, bubby? I think that's bubby. My booby bubby, your forever husband, King Gibson." Black King Gibson. It's going to be some black women under the comments saying, Oh, that's so sad, Black King. I'm so sorry to see you getting divorced. I see is. I so is. Black women's, we gotta support our black kings when they get divorced from the exoticals. We gotta be there to help them through it. We gotta breathe life back into our kings so that they can go off and get another exotical and ignore us and troll us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all other social media platforms, saying how we ain't ish compared to the exoticals, saying how we need to step it up and level up and get rid of the weed. You see, y'all black women, black men telling y'all what they want, and they want y'all to get rid of weed. If you weren't wearing so much weave, he probably wouldn't even be dating exoticals. He probably want himself a black queen, but you was wearing weave. He probably would have been a better husband and a better father if you wasn't so busy wearing so much weave, worrying about where you're gonna get your next lace front wig from. But you know it's someone down there in the comment section saying some black woman down in the comment section saying something like that. Um, but so it didn't work out, you know. But perhaps maybe they'll find better situations. Hopefully they can be good co-parents for their child that they have together. And hopefully, you know, tomorrow will be a better day for them. Perhaps they can reconcile, perhaps. Um, but, as far as like the black thing is concerned, non-black wife, non-black marriage, I would say a blended family, a blended marriage, whatever. I think that would be the phrase that we would use in this case. But I know when it comes to situations like this, the black community be getting in their feelings and stuff and be all like, well, blackness come in so many different shades and so many different colors and so many different varieties. It sure does. So, any and everybody can be black. It doesn't, blackness is in the shade, blackness is in the color. And blackness is a frame of mind. And, it's about how you identify and it's your politics. It's not just about phenotype and, how you look, right? Even though black is probably the one color amongst all colors that really is the most established, the most like straightforward. And what I mean by that is like, when it comes to black, you're not hearing people say like, oh, light black, dark black, medium black, like off black. They're not really shades when it comes to black. You may hear someone say like jet black or something, but typically you don't really hear that though, right? I'm just saying. I guess people may say like straight from Africa black, something like that. But typically, let's be real, you don't. Um, so, yeah. So, Tyrese, he said a few things in this post, and good for him. I'm not sure what inspired him and prompted him to say black families and marriages are under attack. Because I feel like he was referring to himself when he said that in his situation. He may not have been, but just in case he was, I'm making this video and putting it out there that, you don't have a black family, Tyrese. All right? You don't have a black family. You don't have a black marriage. All right? You have a blended marriage and a blended family. And that's okay. All right? That's all right. It's okay to have a blended family. That's not a crime. It doesn't necessarily mean that you hate black people, hate blackness, hate black women, etc. But we just have to be real about this and call a thing, and call it for what it is. But I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I guess I can say one more thing. It's not really related to this situation, but Tyrese Gibson, his vehicle got stolen, but I think it was recovered. And I was wondering, like, this may be a bit bad to think, but I'm like, did he stage that for some promo? You know how some of these celebrities do when it comes to getting some publicity. Just wondering about that. Um, but that's all I have to say. I don't think I got anything else to say about this situation really. But what do you think about this? You know, do you think that Tyrese Gibson does have a black family and a black marriage? How do you define a black family and a black marriage? And I know some people will probably come through and be like, "Oh, well, she's biracial," and you know, and I will say that when it comes to black people, at least black Americans, I think many black Americans would say like, "Oh, well, a biracial person and a black person would create like black children." So you could say like, "Oh, that's a black marriage." And I think some people would say that, well, maybe not, right? Like, well, it depends on how the kids look. You know, it's a lot to discuss, and I know it's going to trigger some people, especially people who like to live in the fantasy la la land, saying that we are the same, even though it's clearly visible and evident that we do not all look the same and not all treated the same. And there's differences among us, and that's okay. But it's okay to acknowledge differences. The problem comes of how you treat people based on the differences. But that's all I have to say for the moment. So thank you for watching. Adios and goodbye for now. Yeah. Sorry, I thought I ended the video. Here we go. Peace out.